Hi, and welcome to episode 6 of the Holistic Stroke Solutions, where we go beyond conventional training methods and rehabilitation protocols. We dive into the missing links and loose ends of stroke rehabilitation. My name is Dr. Arjan Kuipers. I'm a clinician and neuroscientist with a main interest in stroke rehabilitation. And I do this together with Linda Radestad, who suffered a severe stroke herself, is now an author, just released her second book, very exciting, and she's an inventor, she develops tools for fellow stroke survivors. In this episode, which is part of a series of 3, we're going to talk about why training from the ground up is superior to other stroke rehabilitation methods. Now, for those of you, and there's many of you I know, that want training, physical training straight away, want to know what exercises to do, I want to share this with you. In order to get the best training results, you will have to understand how the training works, why it works, and then how you do it. This is just a fact. Otherwise, you are not set up to perform the best. You don't hang in there when you know what you are doing. It's easier to hang in there when things get tough and you see the end goal in your mind. So, in episode 3, we will go into the training methods that you need to train from the foundation up. In this episode, I want to talk about evolution, the evolution of your brain, development of your brain, and why this matters for stroke rehabilitation so much. Let me start with a little story. Having a stroke is like the following situation. You have an orchestra, and this orchestra does not know each other very well. We have the different sections. We have the violin players, we have the drums, we have the cellos, we have the flutes, we have the trombone, we have the trumpets, and everything they have to perform a beautiful music piece, and they need a conductor for that. Now, when you suffer a stroke or after stroke, what happens is you have an orchestra that is not well organized, doesn't have a conductor. And in order to get a beautiful music piece, it's not like training just an arm or a leg, meaning improving the violinist section and putting all emphasis on that, or the piano part, because then you don't get the beautiful rounded piece of music. Yet, in reality, this is exactly what happens in stroke rehabilitation. We go straight to the end result. An arm, a hand that's not functioning. You cannot walk properly again. You have spasticity, you have a foot drop, your foot inverts, and so on. In order to get everything functioning properly, have normal walking again and not like a circumducted gait or a gait with a brace and a cane. Walking that resembles what you did before. It is like conducting an orchestra in a beautiful way. It's like a bouquet of flowers that comes out at the same time. You have to make sure that all the parts work together, connect up together, and then synchronize together. And that's where the conductor comes in. Now, in this episode, from the foundation up, what I want you to understand is how we can accomplish this for the nervous system after a stroke. And for doing that, we have to go back to evolution. Over the last 4 to 6 million years, we managed to go from crawling, being on the ground, whatever background you have, that is like the evolution of movement is from the ground, being upwards and starting to walk upright. Why is this so important after stroke? Well, after stroke, you go the opposite way. You go from being able to do everything upright, have perfect speech, manipulate your hands. you go back to the position where you cannot right yourself up again. Now this has severe consequences for what's happening in the total of your central nervous system, the orchestra that is perfectly tuned to perform with the hands, with the mouth. So, in the first place, we will share how the nervous system is built up. Through time, when we moved upwards, we freed up brain space by not being on all fours. So the hands got another function. So this freed up, like that we started to manipulate things with our hands, which is very unique for humans, especially the thumb opposition parts, and we learned how to speak. This is because we didn't have to perform the crawling movements anymore. By being upright, you also have to understand this, the better you're able to correct your posture, the more nervous system inputs you get. The postural system fights against gravity. Fighting against gravity provides the nervous system with a tremendous influx of information. It's the biggest input that you have. And it provides the brain with a basic activity to bind all the processes together and work in symphony. So we have to do everything from the ground up to get you upright again. And that means we cannot just focus on the arm and the hand to synchronize your whole central nervous system. We have to look at what happened after birth. You have a set of primitive reflexes that provide you with the basic movement patterns on which you can build complexity. And the nervous system builds into layers in more complexity. So we start at the brainstem. That's where all the vital functions and also the activation of higher brain centers takes place. That's where everything integrates. We build that up by having complex interaction with our environment, and by having interaction with our environment and start to move from the supine on the back position as a baby, moving at random because we have inbuilt systems in our central nervous system, about which I'm going to talk about in the next episode. We're going through the different layers from the spinal cord to the brainstem to the little brain, the cerebellum, to the higher brainstem centers, to the deep brain nuclei, to the hemispheres and all the different parts of the hemispheres, and how we can use this in stroke rehabilitation to simulate normal progression in brain development. And we need to look at this progression in brain development in order to get to the orchestra part where everything connects up and synchronizes together. That is vital. That's the only message I want to conduct in this episode. We have to look from the ground up, like a baby develops the central nervous system. You have to do that after a stroke again. After a stroke, you regress back. You go to a less sophisticated level of brain development, but the beauty is many parts of your central nerves are still intact, and we can build more complexity on what is still functioning. Having spasticity and having a limb while walking can be effective, and it makes you survive, because that is like the level to which you develop, but we have to build onto it to make sure that all the other parts connect up again and synchronize. That is when you can lose some of your spasticity, get better walking patterns, have more symphony in your movement and training efforts. If you train a hand, remember, and this is, I will repeat this over and over, if you train an arm or spasticity in a leg in isolation, and you can have the most sophisticated tools, which we have nowadays, with the brain-computer interfaces, with the transcranial magnetic stimulation. But if you don't take into consideration that you have to make sure that the part you are training connects up with the rest, and synchronizes, the training is less effective and you will not accomplish what you set out to do. So we have to go back to the ground and build up from there, meaning we have to build more and more complex movements, and it all starts with crawling, lying on the back, crawling on the back, making crawling movements, activating shoulder and hip stability on the back, then on the side, rolling, starting crawling, starting to right yourself up, starting to prop yourself up, and then using tools in the environment to straighten yourself up more and more. Think about a baby. When does a baby start to talk? When it has gone through all these different steps. If it skips one of these steps, and now I'm getting really passionate because I hear professionals say over and over, oh, it doesn't matter if the baby scoops on its glutes only, it doesn't crawl. This has severe consequences. When you are lucky and you're born into a family with intelligence, you may circumnavigate that you didn't take these steps, but we will see it back in how you perform in sports, how injury prone you are, how your language develops, how you do at school. So make no mistakes, you need all these steps. Whether you're a child or whether you had a stroke, we have to go through these steps to build complexity into your nervous system, reconnect and synchronize. So we go through the crawling. When you are upright, you know that is where speech develops. That's where you start to develop higher cognition. So if we manage to go through these steps in stroke rehabilitation, and not just go to the end result that the arm or the foot doesn't work, we are building the orchestra of our dreams. Yes, the pianist or the violinist can be brilliant in the piece that's conducted by the whole orchestra, but the piece sounds so much better when all the players are online. And in the next episode, we're going through all the different sections of the orchestra, meaning all the levels, and I'm going to show you how we can make use of these sections and why they are still intact and why it is really useful to do so. So you understand when we come to part 3 how we can put these exercises into action and make them work for the better also of arm and leg rehabilitation. I hope this was interesting. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to this channel so you get updates on a regular basis. See you in the next episode.